Hey everyone! Today I'm bringing you two new workflows designed for line art coloring. These are particularly useful if you're looking to turn black and white comics into colored versions, or if you need to add color to line art design sketches. As you can see from the examples shown earlier, the results are quite solid. Now let's dive into a more detailed comparison. First up, this is workflow number 1. It's built for general-purpose line art coloring. The base model we're using here is the QN Image Edit 2511. For precise line art control and color filling, we're applying a LoRa called Panel Painter. We'll get into the specific models and LoRas in a moment, but first let's compare the original image with the output from this workflow. You can see the color combinations are well balanced, and to the naked eye, there are basically no noticeable flaws. The text in the image also comes through without any significant interference. That said, QN Image Edit 12511 does have a pixel shift issue. You don't really see it in this particular image because there's a lot going on content-wise, so the shift isn't obvious. But when you're working with simpler images that have less content, the pixel shift becomes much more apparent. We'll see that in the next example. Let me switch over to that case. The second case shows the results from workflow number 2. The workflow structure is essentially the same as the first one. The only difference is that this second workflow uses a LoRa called Coloring, which is also trained on QN Image Edit 2511. Since this original image has relatively less content, the pixel shift issue becomes quite obvious here. Looking at the comparison, the misalignment is clearly visible to the naked eye. Fortunately, it doesn't affect the overall completeness of the image, so it's still usable. From my personal experience, coloring works better for scenarios involving shoujo manga or cute art styles. You can see that coloring added red line art to the character's face, even though the original image didn't have those elements. This stylistic choice fits well with shoujo manga or kawaii aesthetics. Alright, let's take a detailed look at the workflow. Now, Running Hub is my go-to platform for running all my AI workflows. Every new workflow I build, I drop it there first, so if you want to try out this talking head setup yourself, check the link in the description. It's the easiest way to get started without dealing with local installs. Alright, let's take a closer look at the first workflow. In this section, you upload your line art image. For best results, try to use high-quality, high-resolution images. The output image dimensions will match your original input size. The workflow also supports batch processing for multiple images. To do this, you'll need to package all your images into a single zip file, then upload that zip to the Load Images zip node. Before using batch upload, make sure to set the group switch next to it to false. Then connect the Load Images zip node to the Set Image node, and you're good to go. Looking at the model loading section, we're using the BF16 version of the QN Image Edit 2511 model. No need to worry about VRAM, Running Hub handles the BF16 version just fine. If you prefer a more lightweight version of QN Image Edit 2511, that works too. For LoRas, we've selected two. The first is a speed-up LoRa that completes the workflow in just 4 steps. The second is the Panel Painter LoRa we mentioned earlier. For clip and VAE, we're using the most standard models, nothing special there. The sampler configuration is also standard. You don't need to modify any parameters here. Alright, let's run the workflow. Alright, let's check the results. The overall quality is quite good. You can hit pause if you want to take a closer look. Now let's move on to the second workflow. The only difference between the second workflow and the first one is that we're using the coloring LoRa here. Everything else is exactly the same. Alright, let's run this workflow. Alright, let's look at the results. You can see the coloring came out really nicely. I'd recommend trying out both of these workflows. I'll drop the links in the comments section, so feel free to grab them if you're interested. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing. That's it for today. See you in the next video.